Hello students, today we are going to learn about differentiator. You know how an integrator works, we have studied that. So the differentiator circuit is it's not much different from an integrator circuit. It is also a inverting amplifier, but there are certain modifications when compared to the integrator circuit that we'll come to. So now we'll see what a differentiator is. As an integrator integrates the input signal, we can say that the differentiator also differentiates the input signal. So it performs the mathematical operation of differentiation on the applied input waveform. Or I can say that the output signal from a differentiator will be the differentiated form of the input signal, or it will be the derivative of the input waveform. Okay, first we shall see how the circuit looks like. This is the circuit of a differentiator. You can see that the signal is applied at the inverting terminal. So this is in inverting mode configuration. And we can see that it is very similar to the normal inverting amplifier, except that the resistance R1 is replaced by a capacitor. So here we can see a capacitor. So there is, instead of the resistance R1, then you have the normal RF resistor in the feedback path. Okay, so in the integrator we have learned that the circuit in that circuit we had the in R1 resistor, but instead of the RF we had the capacitor. So in the differentiator we have the capacitor in the place of R1, but RF is there as usually it is there in the inverting amplifiers. So this is the only difference in the circuit when compared to an integrator. Or I can say that uh, from the normal inverting amplifier circuit, there is only one modification, that you replace the R1 with the capacitor here. Okay, so this capacitor is named as C1 in this particular, is named as C1. Okay, then RF you have. Now we can, so once the circuit is ready, then we have to see the circuit analysis, how you can mathematically understand that the output signal is the differentiated form of the input signal. Now one more thing you can notice is the implementation of this um, resistor ROM. We know that this resistor is introduced to reduce the um, input bias current that you have already learned. So this is also given, which means that the effect of the bias current on the output signal is actually nullified. Okay, so now we shall see how mathematically you can write the mathematical analysis, how you can do for this circuit. Now you see, remember, this is the current IC passing through the capacitor, and you know that this is the input signal. This is at a higher potential when compared to this junction, so current flows towards the junction V2. Now we can see that this is the output point, which is highly negative because it is inverting mode configuration. So the output will be very high, but then it will be highly negative. So you can see this junction comparatively had a higher potential. So the current is flowing from the junction V2 towards this VO. So that means the current flow direction is now clear. So now at this junction, if I write the Kirchhoff's current equation, I can say that the current flowing in, the sum of the current flowing in should be equal to the current flowing out, right? So here current flowing is IC. So the current flowing out is IB and IF. So I can write IC equal to IF plus IB. Okay, so that we'll see the circuit analysis. So I can write IC is equal to IB plus IF, but we know that this IB is 0 here, right? So approximately equal to 0. Then I can say that IC is equal to IF, right? Now what is IC? You know this IC is equal to the current flowing through the capacitor. And that we have learned that current flowing through the capacitor, in order to find that you can write Q is equal to CV, right? That I can write IC is equal to IF. IC is current flowing through capacitor. So that capacitor current I know the relation Q is equal to CV. Okay, and now I take the differential on both sides. I can write dq by dt is equal to capacitance. It is a constant value. Voltage can change, so dv by dt. I know that dq by dt is actually current, right? So that is the current flowing through the capacitor IC. So then C into dV, I can write it as dVc because it is the voltage across the capacitor. So dVc divided by dt. So then instead of IC, I can write C into d by dt of Vc, right? And this is equal to current IF. Okay, so now what you have to think is, what is this Vc and what is this IF? Because Vc is the voltage across capacitor, what is that? And what is the current? I means actually this current is equal to resistance. So it is voltage across the resistance RF divided by the resistance RF. That is current IF, right? Voltage across the resistance RF divided by the current divided by the resistance RF will give you IF. So we'll do that and see that again. Yeah, here comes. We know that C1 into d by dt of Vc. So instead of Vc, how you can write Vc? Vc is actually input voltage V in minus V2, right? Input voltage V in was at higher potential, so that minus the lower potential, which is V2, and that is the voltage across the capacitor. Again, I'll just show you the circuit. Here you can see that this voltage across capacitor C1 is actually the Vc, right? So that means that Vc is the voltage. This is the voltage difference between the two junctions, right? So that at this junction it is V1 V in, this junction it is V2. So Vc is actually V in minus V2. So that is what I applied there. Now we can see that what is the current IF. IF is the voltage across this resistance RF. So this is at a higher potential, this is at a lower potential. So I can write V2 minus V0 is the voltage across RF divided by RF will give you IF. Okay. So substituting here, we get d by C1 equal C1 into d by dt of V in minus V2 equal to, instead of IF, I write V2 minus VO divided by RF. But we know that V2 is very small because the gain of the amplifier A is very large. So I can say V1 is approximately equal to V2, which is equal to, since V1 is at ground potential, I can say V2 is also approximately equal to 0. So then neglecting this V2 or making V2 equal to 0, then I can rewrite the equation as C1 into dVn by dt equal to minus VO divided by RF. So now rearranging the term, I want to know what is V output. So VO, to get VO, I can take this RF also to the other side. So I can say VO is equal to minus RF into C1 into dVn by dt. So what does that mean? It means that the output voltage is the differential of the input voltage multiplied by RF into C1. So this is and again you can see that the output is negative, which means that the input was applied at the negative terminal, right? So obviously you are going to get a negative output when compared to the input. So output voltage is equal to RF into C1 times the negative instantaneous rate of change of input voltage with the time. So thus we understood that the circuit when connected in that particular way will actually give you the differentiated waveform at the output. Okay. So now we can look at the frequency response and discuss the other details. So this is the frequency response of a differentiator, and what you see here, so frequency response means frequency versus gain. Now what you see here as the solid line is actually the open loop frequency response of the differentiator. So it will be in open loop, it will be like this, but you are going to connect it in the closed, we have connected that in a closed loop configuration. So in the closed loop configuration, the frequency response is what you see here. Okay. So this is the one of the open loop. closed loop response, basic differentiator. So that the output of the original differentiator which you are seeing here, that is actually this one, this dot and then the solid line, this one, the straight line is the frequency response of a differentiator circuit which you are seeing here. But you know that practically, obviously it has some difficulty, as we have seen that in the case of an integrator. You know that the gain of this circuit, what is the gain of the circuit? This is an inverting amplifier. So gain of the circuit is RF divided by impedance of the capacitance. So that is, I can write the gain as RF divided by XC1. Now you can see that when you write RF divided by XC1, and you know that this XC1 is the impedance of capacitor, and the impedance of capacitor is, that is divided by 1 by omega c, right? And omega is actually equal to 2 pi f. Omega is 2 pi f. So what happens when the frequency increases? This term will increase. So when this term will increase, the whole term become less. When the whole this denominator becomes less, we can say that the gain is going to increase. So that means with the increase in frequency, what happens when the increase in frequency, gain is going to increase quite significantly. So with the increase in the frequency, the gain will increase, go on increasing as per this circuit. So but that has to be stabilized, right? The gain should not increase too much, so that has to be stabilized. Gain has to be minimized. And also we can say that when the increase, with the increase in the frequency, you know that the capacitive impedance will decrease. So when the capacitance impedance decreases, so that means that with the increase in the frequency, even since the impedance decreases, even very noise signals also will get easily flow through, or it will easily flow through the capacitor. Or I can say that as the frequency increases, even the noise signals, it will not, capacitance will not offer much resistance even to the very low noise signals. So that means that will also get easily passed through the circuit and it will get amplified. So the two main problems, one thing is the gain will not be stable. The other thing is the circuit will be very susceptible to high frequency noise. So these two things can be reduced by a simple modification in the circuit. The modification is that you can connect a resistance R1 along with the capacitor C1, and then you can connect a capacitor CF across this RF. So we said that in a basic differentiator there are some circuit problems. That is, the limitation is that the circuit is very susceptible to low frequency noise signals. Then the other thing is the gain is unstable. So in order to actually cross or eliminate these difficulties, we can additionally have two components in the circuit. Then you can have, that is, you can have a resistance R1 along with the capacitor C1. Then you can have a resistance CF along across the capacitor, across the resistance RF, you can have a capacitor CF. So with the implementation of these two elements in this differentiator circuit, you can make this differentiator more practically usable circuit. Okay. So now the thing is, there will be, since you place a resistance R1 and you make these implementations, obviously there will be modification in the frequency response graph. So we shall see that. See here, this was the open loop frequency response. This was the closed loop frequency response of a basic differentiator, that is a normal differentiator which we saw first. Then you can see that with the implementation of the resistance R1 and the capacitor CF, to make it a more practical differentiator, because of the implementation of these two components, you can see that there is a frequency response change. That is, first it will be going on increasing, but then after a particular frequency, this gain will decrease. Okay, so this is the frequency response of a practical differentiator circuit. This one, and then first an increase at 220 decibel per decade, and then a decrease at the rate 20 decibel per decade. That is totally a 40 decibel per decade change. This positive 20 decibel per second and this negative 20 decibel per decade. Totally, numerically, we can have 40 decibel per decade as per the practical differentiator circuit. Then you can see obviously when this new added components comes into the circuit, that will play a major role in limiting the frequencies. So thus we can say that this FB, that is the point at which, or the frequency at which the gain is going to decrease, obviously will depend upon the new elements which you have implemented. But this frequency FA, which is on the increasing side of the frequency response, and this frequency FA is actually the frequency at which the gain becomes 0 decibel. Okay, so below that the gain is actually negative. So that frequency at which the gain becomes 0 decibel is actually called as the FA here, and this FA depends on the older components. That is, I can say that FA is equal to 1 by 2 pi RF into C1. That is, RF and C1 are the components used in the normal differentiator circuit, not the practical differentiator circuit. So obviously FA depends upon RF and C1. Okay, so this is FA. So the value of FA, that is the frequency at which the gain becomes 0 decibel, depends upon RF into C1. So that FA becomes equal to 1 by 2 pi into RF into C1. Okay, so now we shall see what is the value of FB. So FB is, so this FB is actually 1 by 2 pi into R1 C1. You know that R1 and C1 are the resistors which you have placed additionally to make it a more practical differentiator. So the FB, that is the frequency at which the gain starts decreasing. Okay, so that frequency value depends upon the additional component R1 and C1 you implemented to make the differentiator circuit more a practical one. So this is the value. But this R1C1 and RFCF, they are also made to be equal numerically. So this R1C1 and RFC is numerically equal in this particular circuit to make this more effective. Okay. So I can even write FB as equal to 1 by 2 pi RF into CF, because R1C1 and RFCF are the same. Now this there is additionally frequency FC. FC is actually the frequency at which the gain becomes unity. So that is actually FC is the you can see that FC, this FC is this one, and this FC is the frequency at which the gain becomes unity. So I can say this is the unity gain bandwidth. Okay. So now we have three frequencies, FA, FB and FC, and you know that this FA is the lowest frequency, FB is the next highest frequency and FC is the next highest frequency. So when you design the circuit, you have to keep in mind that FA should be less than, FB should be less than FC. Okay, so then I can, so here we know that FA is 1 by 2 pi RF into C1 and FB is 1 by 2 pi R1 C1 or 1 by 2 pi RF-CF. So when you design the components, we have to make sure that the FA value and or the RF and C1, RF C1 and R1 C1 should be selected in such a way that the frequency FA is lower than the frequency FB and it is lower than the frequency FC. Okay, so that is the thing which you have to keep in mind while designing. Then another thing which we also discussed in the case of an integrator is that the you know that this RF7 is called as the time constant of the circuit. So this is actually the time or it actually will tell you the time taken for the capacitor to get charged and discharged. Okay, so that one thing is that the time period of the applied signal should be significantly large so that the capacitor should get enough time to get discharged and charged. So that means the time period of the signal should be significantly greater than this RF into C1, which is the time constant of the circuit, this RC circuit. So that also we have to keep in mind. Okay, now I'll show you a simple waveform which when given to the differentiator produces the output waveform, which is the differentiated waveform. You know that in an integrator, when you gave a cosine signal, you will get a sine, and similarly the other way. Here also it is the same, because if I give a sine wave, the differentiated form is cosine wave, and obviously you will get a cosine signal. Then when you give a square wave, you will get a triangular wave, or a wave like this, that is resulting, it is a spike output. I'll explain you how this happens. Okay, just think on this to make you understand that how this the differentiated output is spiked signal. You can see here that the signal is steady for 1 volt. And you know that when the signal is steady, this is the input waveform and this is the corresponding output waveform. So the first is actually the signal is 0, but then in the input waveform signal is 0, but then at no time the signal steps up to 1 volt. So here there is a change happening, a positive change, that is increase in voltage. So obviously since an increase in voltage takes place, you know that the input voltage varies. So when the input voltage varies, will have dVn by dt, right? So there is a change in the input voltage. So if there is a change in the input voltage, you can say that in output, how will you get? Output is actually the uh, input variation of the input voltage with respect to time. That is, output is actually d by dt of V in, right? So here the input voltage varies from 0 to 1. So since this variation is there, you will get an output at that time, and that output, that will be, you know, that output is actually negative of that. And the other thing, suppose let me keep this RF and the C1 equal to 1 here. So that will not depend, output will not depend upon this RF and C1. So output is actually minus d by dt of Vn. So since this varies, you will get an output in the negative direction. This is the output. So then this variation is high from when it is become here. You know that input waveform is becoming from 0 to 1 in a very short time. So that means in that particular time variation itself, that is no time, I can say that this also you will get a negative sharp output. But then after that, when this after this has picked from 0 to 1 volt, you know that the voltage is remaining steady for a long time. So that means there is no variation in the input voltage with respect to time. So that means output will be 0. So that means after this has picked up, because of the lag in the capacitor, it will get time to charging and time for charging and discharging, and because of that there will be a slight delay, that is output voltage will be maximum, then it will slightly, then it will reduce and it becomes 0, right? It becomes 0 means that for that time, this time, since for this period, since the voltage input voltage is not varying, you will not get any output, that is 0. Again, after at this point, you again see, we can see that the input voltage is varying, that is from 1 it is suddenly becoming 0 here, right? So since the voltage is suddenly becoming 0, I can say that there is a variation in the voltage taking place here at this time. So since there is a variation in the voltage taking place, what happens? So over this time, since there is a change in voltage, which is actually decrease in voltage, V in by dt is actually decreasing, negative, because input voltage decreases with time. So then how will you get the output? You will get a positive output. So that means over this time, when the voltage decreases with time, the output will be the negative of the dVn by dt. So dVn by dt is negative. So negative of negative, you will get the output positive. So output positive again for this variation, when it peaks from 1, or when it reduces from 1 to minus 1 volt, over that time also you will get a spiked output at the output, because you will have an increase in the output in the positive direction. But then after it has achieved this, again you can say that the voltage is going on, will remain steady at minus 1 volt. So by that time it will again reduce to 0 and it will remain 0 as such. So Over this time it will pick up maximum, and then after that there is no variation, right? So you will not get, you should not get any output. So it will slowly reduce and then remain 0 as such. Again, as such for this period. So for this period, you will not be having any output. But then again, from here to here, it is positively increasing. So when it positively increases, you will have a negatively increasing output at the output, right? So again, over this time, it again remains steady. So that means it will increase in the negative direction, again will reduce to 0 and remain 0 over that time. So this happens again and again, and for the input square wave we will get a spiked output signal. So this is how a differentiator circuit works, and I hope you understood. If you have any clarification or doubts, you may please contact. Thank you very much.